Alright, so this is another VOD review I'm going over here. In this case, it's going to be PoE's lane as Lucian against Abbedagge's Akali. So this is a lane that, in my opinion, Lucian gets a very, very big lead early. Once Akali hits a certain breakpoint, when she hits 6 and hits certain items, then she can actually look to kind of one-shot the Lucian. But before that point, Lucian gets permanent prio because Akali's wave clear early is awful with her energy usage. And he just kind of gets to run, I'd say, the first 7 to 9 levels, right? So you need to be able to. So if you're going to pick the Lucian into a Akali matchup, you have to be able to abuse the lane, and you have to be able to use the power of the lane to make plays either jungle or around whatever around the mid lane, right? This is something that I think happens a little bit for PoE here, but I think he lets the Akali get away with a lot more than he actually should. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So first, let's go over runes. Runes in Lucian are pretty static, right? He needs press the attack because of how easy he procs it with his passive. Presence, he's always expending mana in lane, so presence is kind of something he needs to really get through lane while being able to harass properly. Between Bloodline and Alacrity, the reason you take Bloodline is due to the fact that Lucian's a lower range AD carry. He doesn't need the extra attack speed because he mostly focuses around burst, right? So when you're a low range AD carry and you're more focused around burst, the attack doesn't really give you much. But what does help a lot is the lifesteal, because the lifesteal helps you actually skirmish a lot better in mid to late game fights with the extra lifesteal that you're going to end up getting, right? Because you have to actually be in people's spaces. I mean, you're going to be taking a lot more damage than say a Caitlyn or I guess a late game Tristana. So Bloodline actually helps a ton. And then it really just comes down to Q versus cut down. If you're up against takes, take cut down. Otherwise, you're taking Q. Just because Lucian, again, is just kind of looking to burst people out, right? Biscuit delivery is also kind of mandatory. Lucian's mana usage early is kind of high. Before first reset, he kind of needs, I guess, maybe even first 2 resets, he kind of needs the biscuits to really keep himself from running dry on mana. And then after that, it's between Cosmic and Boots. I think Cosmic is pretty much the better choice in every single situation, mainly just due to the fact that you're getting Summoner Spell Haste and Item Haste, right? This game he ends up going Gale Force, which means the Item Haste actually means something. And Summoner Spell Haste is always important, just in general, especially when almost everyone in the game is taking, or a lot of people in the game are taking Cosmic Insight. Having Flash Time that's similar to theirs, and being able to match TPs that are similar to theirs is something that's super important for Lucian in this lane. So now that discussion's over, I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm actually going to discuss what I think that TSM did wrong level 1 as a team, because I think that there's something they could have gotten a lot better here if they recognized the jungle matchup and what they actually had. So they go into 5-point, which I think is fine to start off with. But one thing that Rumble is extremely susceptible to here is late invade. Rumble has to kind of start W. Well, he doesn't have to start W. He can technically start Q and look to clear Raptors. But in most cases, he's starting W, and he's just looking to permanently stack so that when the camp spawns, he can get his heat off, and he can just use the extra attack speed and the extra damage and the extra percent health damage to kind of shred the camp very quickly, right? Now, the downside of this is it's actually very, very similar to Hecarim start last year, right? Meaning his level 1 is absolutely awful. So if you go in and invade him at level 1, it makes his life extremely, extremely difficult. On top of that, your level 1 consists of Braum and Lucian, right? It's basically an insta stun. It's basically you don't lose any level 1 fights if you take them even numbers, right? Because Braum's going to just be applying stuns to everyone across the board due to his passive. Lucian just has good damage with double tap, and just you're playing double AD carry, double ranged into into melees in a rumble that's going to have a W start. It's just a situation where you want to try to get an invade off him as I'd say late invade, just to kind of mess up his pathing and make his life extremely difficult. What you can actually do here is if you don't want to see where he actually starts, because what Udyr hypothetically could do is walk up with Gragas and Lucian, get a ward on red buff, or they could do the same thing bot side, get a ward on whichever buff, figure out where he starts and invade him there. But if you think that's too risky, you don't want to do that, you can also just late invade blue and just say if he's there, you can take it. Sorry, if he's there, you can take the fight and just kind of force him to walk up to his top side and then do his red buff with no help. Or if he's not there, then what you can do is you can force vertical, and then you can force vertical with the Udyr, have Udyr go from blue, Gromp, Wolves, and then down to his bot side. Know he's going to clear slightly faster than the Rumble. And and then force Rumble to basically clear topside and have his only real gank option be the Lucian into Gragas. One thing about Gragas early is that he gets extremely difficult to actually gank, especially once he gets E, right? Because Gragas he has priority over pretty much everything. Lucian Q doesn't really matter in that case. So forcing him to have the only lane he can play around for the first 1 to 2 camp rotations be top lane puts him in an extremely difficult spot because the lane that he actually wants to go down to ends up being bot lane because it's you have the Leona, you have the Kai'Sa, and also FBI who here kind of have been a fairly strong win condition for 100 Thieves in the past, right? So by doing that, what you would do is you'd forcing vertical top to bot or top splitting them out top and bot would make it so that Rumble doesn't have a lot of good options early, and it's kind of forced to just kind of farm until 6 before he can really do anything, right? Instead, this is what they end up doing. Spot out the ward there. Braum basically just takes his reset, wards beforehand. One thing a lot of people don't realize, or I guess they do, but just I feel I need to bring it up. If you ward and then buy scanner, you get the scanner pretty much right away. So Braum resets, sells his trinket, comes back out with scanner, and what the scanner does is it gets Lucian a little bit extra experience. If you are the only person actually killing a ward, what it does for you is that it ensures that you get level 2 off first wave instead of 7 minions, you only need 6. This is really, really huge in the Lucian lane due to the fact that he can then, as soon as the first wave is dead, he doesn't have to wait for the second wave to start really kind of pushing his lead onto Akali. He'll have E and Q right after first wave. And if Akali didn't realize that or maybe forgot it in trading patterns, you can actually get off a lot of damage as soon as the first wave is done and really kind of screw the lane entirely for Akali. So over here, this is something where I feel like this is good positioning on his end. He canceled an auto, which is kind of unlucky. But being between these two minions and literally just walking Akali off the wave is kind of what you have to do as Lucian here. Because if you're not, then you're not really getting the most out of your lane. So he has to, yeah, he takes Q first because the differences in Lucian lanes is you gotta take Q or E start. In longer lanes or against ranged, what you can do is you can take E to kind of force extended trades against them by just dashing into their face. So usually against like stuff like control mages like a Syndra or an Orianna, literally just to force hard press the attack trades. But against Akali, because of the fact that you already have range advantage, you can just take Q and just look to poke through the minions. And if you ever get the point where you get an auto Q double tap off of, getting the press the attack proc early actually helps a ton. So I think that he's playing his level 1 fine. I think that he concedes a little bit too much here. Given the fact that Akali has Q, he should be totally fine just kind of trading damage for damage. He has his D-Blade for sustain. But he kind of lets her step a little bit too far up in the wave. So looks like Abbedagge realized, all right, he got the minion. He's going to hit level 2 off wave and started walking back early. Luckily, PoE positioned himself well enough to actually get the trade off ahead of time. So yeah, he's going to push this wave in. It shouldn't, yeah, it's going to crash here. All right. So he's just kind of looking to harass the Akali under tower. Akali, one thing about her early game is that it's really, really bad when it comes to wave clear. She's not that great at farming under tower because if she uses 2 Qs, she's essentially out of energy, right? So what you can do here is you can literally just shove the wave in and force her to kind of be in a spot where she has to do stuff like that just to get minions off, just shroud for the extra energy. So I think that, yeah, he's playing this well early. He needs the priority early so that he can be there for Rumble. One thing that you actually kind of see him doing is because they had the ward on Gromp. What you saw is you saw that Rumble went from red up to Gromp, meaning he's going back down here. So you can see Rumble's path from the start, right? He's going red, Gromp here, clearing down to bot side right here. So soon what you're going to see PoE do is you're going to see him start to play in topside pocket because he knows that Rumble literally can't be there, right? He sets up a ward just to make sure that Rumble's not looking to do anything, I guess, odd on Raptors. But as soon as this wave pushes in, he starts playing towards top pocket. Abbedagge starts playing towards bot pocket. It's obvious Rumble's on bot side here. All right, he walks up, gets his ward off. Now he's entirely safe. He can play on the top side of the map without any real issue. The Akali has no real gank support, and Rumble doesn't have a stun or anything. So if they decide to actually try to gank mid, there's nothing they could possibly get out of it. He just walks towards top side, and that's that. So yeah, this stage of the lane, I think he's still playing it pretty well. He's pressuring the Akali hard enough. He's doing what he has to do. He has permanent priority. This is the whole reason you pick the matchup, right? I think he can be playing maybe a little bit more aggressive under that tower. Perhaps trading what's it called? Trading tower shots for E. But It's not the end of the world. It's fine. He's going to be looking to reset soon anyway. So yeah, just last hitting for a little bit. Stand down the wave. Yeah. Every time he goes into tower, she has to shroud. Because if she doesn't, she's just going to take all of her HP and damage. The one big downside here is that he's not getting a lot of press the attack procs. So press the attack is mostly a rune for early game. It does similar damage to electrocute early game with a much lower cooldown, right? So a lot of Lucian's power in these melee versus or range versus melee matchups, or just matchups in general, is being able to proc press the attack literally every 12 seconds. Right? It's kind of unlucky that he's not really getting able to set up the auto attacks before he gets double tap proc off. It's cool that he's harassing over the wave, but it doesn't hurt nearly as much without the press the attack coming in, right? So it's kind of unfortunate on his end that he's not being able to get that in first, but given the health advantage, I think this is the spot where you should really start to look to play a lot more aggressively. Again, you know that Rumble just cleared his bot side. It's about 4 minutes. You should have just taken Crab, right? That's knowledge. That's just what he has based off of the information that he had off of a grunt board, right? So Rumble should be resetting, heading back top very soon. You can know when he's going to be heading around back around topside when the when the spawning icon shows up again at Krugs, right? Because that's literally because once that thing is coming up, it's basically saying for the next 15 it's literally there are no camps left on the map. He has to be up here in 15 seconds, or his clear is going to be totally fucked, right? So until that point, Rumble just kind of has to run on the map. Most likely he's resetting right now. And PoE knows that. He has this ward there in case Rumble decides he wants to do anything funny. But he can just basically play towards topside and just know that until he sees Rumble show up on either his ward or on the Krugs ward, he cannot possibly be there. This is a situation where I actually think that he should be playing further up on the wave. I think he's allowing Akali way, way, way too much because of what I said earlier. You know that Rumble has to be pathing topside. You have this ward to keep you safe. You're already playing in top pocket. The only spot he could possibly come where he's not in vision is through bot side, right? So if you're playing towards top pocket and you have all of this information to know where he is and where he has to be, you should be standing probably up here between the waves. Right, because there should be no reason that she's allowed to just kind of queue waves for free and kind of last it for free. As long as you can position one minion between you and her, so she can't outright E to you, you can put yourself in a spot where you can really get the harass done. Because especially she has what about 50% HP right now. He's entirely full HP. Still has two biscuits and D-Blade. There's no reason for him not to be pressing his lead a lot harder than he actually is right now. But I think he's giving her way too much credence. So over here, he's probably just going to look to kind of reset. Yeah. No, he can't reset because she got the wave too much. All right. This is another situation. He should be literally positioning right in front of her face. This is a spot where you can look to trade a tower shot for a full combo. You're at full HP, you have two biscuits, you have your Doran's Blade, she can't contest you. You should be standing on top of here before her shard comes back up, and you should be looking to harass her as much as possible. Even if it means you take one tower shot, it's fine, because you get the press the attack off, she's stuck at 100 HP, and at that point, if you can get down a full combo, if she stays, you kill her on next E cooldown, right? But instead, she ends up just getting the reset for free. Because he sees her walk back, he just expends mana on getting the wave in. He's looking to kind of crash and then reset. As you see in a second, he doesn't actually reset. He just kind of fakes the reset so he can catch the wave for free. So he does this. This is a spot where I see him actually pick up, pickaxe. Pickaxe and boots. I think that pickaxe and boots is okay here. I honestly think if you really want to, what you can do instead is you can go double longsword, boots, and refillable, I believe, is about the same amount of gold. So pickaxe boots is 1175, double longsword is 700, boots is 1000. Yeah. You can go double longsword, boots, and refillable. And what the refillable allows you to do is it allows you to take this kind of aggressive cringe that I was talking about. You can take a tower shot and just heal the refillable off of it, right? It allows you to be a lot more oppressive in lane, tank a lot more minion aggro without having to worry too much, and just kind of give you a lot more lane sustain. And you're only missing out on about 5 AD by doing that, right? the AD doesn't matter as much because you're going to make up for it with all the extra press, the attack procs you're going to be getting because of the fact you have the extra sustain in lane, right? And also you're getting to build towards Noon Quiver, which is just the most broken the most broken mythic component in the game. That's just a fact, honestly. The boots though is very important because one thing that people don't necessarily realize all the time. Um, Melee champions move faster than ranged champions. That's just something that's built into the game. They have higher base move speed in order to be able to close the gap. So having the extra boots to be able to keep up with that does help a ton, especially if Abbedagge decides to reset from by either full boots or tier 1 boots. He has to be able to keep to if he gets on top, be able to kite out at least a little bit, right? So for now, lane's still going pretty straightforward. He is looking to kind of hold the wave in the middle of the lane, so he has space to actually play with the Akali, right? So if you look at what's going on bot right now, I don't know if they're probably discussing it in comms. This is a situation because of what's going on. I believe that he actually should be hard pushing the lane in, right? I mean, your bot lane looks like they're shoving in wave in time for Drake. Your jungler's kind of messing around with a Rumble that I believe is in the area. Yeah, he has to be in the area. I think because he should be completing a second clear, then looking to be around bot side, reset, and go back for his red buff spawning in about 45 seconds. So this is a spot where you should actually be I believe, shoving in the wave and heading down to be able to help the Udyr out and secure first Drake. Yep, there's Rumble. Just like I said he'd be. Just finished his second clear. Probably just finished Gromp. He should be level 5 right now. If you actually shove the wave in and you get priority down first, what you can do is you can force him away from this. You can have your bot lane walk up, do Dragon for free at this state. Before Rumble is 6, their Drake contest is actually very poor. You have a stronger early fight between the Braum and the Lucian, but if they try to contest, they just outright lose, as long as you're not tanking too much damage from Dragon. So instead, he's kind of just playing a little bit off the wave. Also, what he wants to be doing here is he wants to be playing towards bot side because you know where Rumble is, you know where Udyr is. If a fight actually breaks out, he wants to be able to be there first. Him playing towards top side and Akali being able to be in this bot pocket means that she could potentially get moved first if he plays a little bit more towards top side. But that kind of just fades out. That fight's done, and then they move up for Drake, like I was talking about earlier. Nope, no, it's just Crab. All right, that works. Yep. So that's reset. You know that Rumble's going to be resetting and hanging back topside. Nope, not yet. Okay. Well, unless they're going to do Drake literally right now, Rumble should be heading back up topside. At the very least, what you can do, yeah, you have the vision there. You know if he's going to come. You're going to see him do his Raptors when he gets there. All right. So he gets this going. This is fine. He's kind of just looking to push and wave right now because Drake should be coming up soon. Yep, Udyr's on it. So he has to get the wave so he can come down. Now Akali has a cannon to deal with, so he's kind of in a spot where he gets first move. They should get this Drake uncontested. Yep, Rumble's back on top side, just like I said he would be, because his next red buff is spawning. He wants to get that off spawn as soon as possible. So he's spacing himself just a little bit too far away from Akali in a lot of these trades. If he's spacing himself properly, what you can do is the Q directly into double auto attack, and then just kind of either W forward and get another double tap, or even E if you want to expend that cooldown, right? Because he's kind of playing the lane a little bit too reserved, he's giving Akali way too much space. He's not actually getting the chance to proc any of his passive procs, or get them for press the attack, and that's something that's not really working out. If you see Lucians playing this lane more aggressively, they should never be sitting on 3 biscuits right now, right? Like we're no longer in the kind of a meta where you can just sit on 3 biscuits, or you can just sit on your biscuits and sell them because they're not worth gold anymore, right? You used to be able to sell them, I think it was for like 50 gold or something, and 150 gold. That's pretty nice, right? But now I think they're worth like 20 gold each. So they have absolutely terrible value. So if you're not actually going to be using them to trade and actually get advantages with, then there's no point in even taking the rune, right? So you see him recognize Rumble's topside. He's playing in bot pocket again. Looks like, yeah, they're moving people towards topside. So this is a conceded effort. You see that Rumble's topside. You see that Lucian push and wave. You see that Kaisa and Leona are both not there. So what you can assume is that they're looking to make a play topside. What I tell my players all the time is the big timers to remember in game are 3:15, 5:30, and then 7:30 to 9 minutes, right? What this generally means is 3:15 is when jungler's finishing his first clears. If you know where he started, you know where he is at that time, right? 5:30 is about the first time that bot lane's resetting, meaning it's the first support roam timer. Obviously, that one is not as static. They're not going to reset at 5:30 every single time, but you basically just keep telling players to keep an eye on when the support is resetting, because that's when they can come to another lane, right? They're not just going to AFK walk back down to bot lane. That's not how the game works, right? They're going to look for something. They can take a wide route through back around mid lane, or even go to top lane if they have a win condition up there, right? And then the last one is 7.5 minutes to 9 minutes. This is when herald rotation happens. Herald rotation is not something you have to do every single time, but just be aware that if you're looking to make plays on the top side of the map at that point, there is a very, very high chance that there's 4 to 5 topside, and they're looking to make a play around herald. So you have to be careful, and you have to make plays around topside with that knowledge in mind, right? So here you see 7:49. Herald rotation is happening. Herald spawns in 10 seconds. Leona's around blue buff. Kaisa is inline. All right. So this is a spot where, yeah, they're going to do blue buff. Looks like that's going to be handed over. This is a good take by him. Sword Art's on vision around mid lane, so now everyone knows, all right, there's a good chance this play is going to happen. Topside. So they're making the decision now. Are we going to contest or are we going to do it? All right, walk back down. Rumble should be around his bot side right now. Oh. All right, Lucian looks like he just queued it, but nothing else. Basically make sure no one's on it. So right now, this should be kind of a spot where for the next minute or so, he can play it relaxed, but he has to be ready to push in around, I would say, 10 minutes when Udyr finishes his clear and he goes back topside, because that's a good chance when Herald's is gonna be popping up there. So over here, he's kind of playing the lane more reserved. He doesn't know where Rumble is. You can assume Rumble can be on bot side, but things are a lot less static now. They can be really anywhere on the map. Akali is he's starting to hit the point where Akali can actually lane against him now. She has enough sustain. She has enough levels to actually be able to clear the waves. So the spot where Lucian kind of just stand in Akali's space and do whatever is kind of over, right? So he's sitting on 1300. Ideally, you want to get him reset before any sort of Herald fight happens. Without Udyr's help, though, it looks like that's not really realistic, right? Unless you're going to burn TP for Herald, which I guess you can do, but is not ideal. All right, that's good harass. And keep in mind, when I say that Akali can lane against him, I don't mean that Akali has control of the lane. I just mean that Akali can actually can start to step up to the wave and start to actually do things in the lane. It's not just she's not entirely up to Lucian's whim anymore. Getting a nice trade again, not getting the press because he's no longer in a spot where he can just E onto her face anymore. She does too much damage. If he E's incorrectly and she attaches her E to him and decides to R, he can actually die here. All right, so here's what you see on the map here. This is what he sees, right? Brahm's up top, Gragas is up top, Udyr's pinging Herald. You see the Rumble over here, so you can't fully get priority, right? Uzziah is a little bit late on the rotation, but you also notice that Leona and Kaisa are no longer bot, right? What you can assume off this information is unless they show on the wave in the next 5 to 8 seconds, they are also pathing top. It's a 5-man top for Herald, right? Until your AD carry actually gets there, you cannot take that fight. If you do take the fight, the way you want to take the fight is not in a choke point. You want to take it in the middle of the river to give Rumble and Leona as difficult a time as possible hitting ultimates. This is not what ends up happening. So because of Rumble showing over there, he can't fully push the wave in, so he decides to just move anyway because he has to move. So this is kind of a spot where what they want to do is once they clear this wave. So not once they clear the wave. Once they clear the ward, they just want to kind of path back towards the Gragas because the Gragas is the one that's going to buy the most of their time there, right? So they clear this ward, and then they should be walking away. This is a spot where, because of where the Xayah is, you can never actually be here, right? You want to be walking back towards the Gragas because the Gragas can actually stop a lot of the stuff from happening, right? Xayah is way too far back. It's gonna be a 5v2, or sorry, a 5v4. And even if he's not far back, and even if you don't see the Kai'Sa, Kai'Sa can get to the fight so quickly that this kind of stuff doesn't really matter, right? This is a fight that TSM can take, but they can only really take it if they have proper positioning. Because Lost reset way too late, and this did the fight way too late, they have to actually concede control of pit just a little bit, and then look to retake it once Xayah gets there, right? So because of the way that this turned out, they end up in a spot where they're literally just in choke against Rumble Leona with ultimates. The fight's doomed at that point. They can't they have to either look to retake once Lost gets there, or just say, all right, fight's doomed. Let's just head back to our lanes and look to get CS advantages, right? So instead, they end up losing a kill. They end up losing Herald, and that kind of goes negatively, right? So he gets this. He gets his TP off. It's kind of unlucky he has to use it, but he has to use it here just to catch the wave, right? It's not a situation he's sitting on way too much gold for that fight to even happen. It's something where in order for them to get their actual the most out of their fight, Lucian would have had to reset and TP ahead of time, which he couldn't do because Akali was kind of keeping you in lane. So the game is not doomed at all from here. The lane is still fine. I don't believe Akali got the kill, so he should still be in mostly control of the lane. He can push the lane out very quickly with Moon Quiver, and still get first move in pretty much every single fight up for the next at least 5 or so minutes. Right, short to Gale Force, almost there. Right, so from this stage forward, he just kind of looks to kind of perma-push the wave. He wants to make sure that he's just first moved, keep Akali in lane as long as possible. Don't give him any run opportunities, right? He wants to just kind of push waves and then get his reset so he can eventually get Gale Force. But he doesn't really let him happen here. Okay, so when the wave gets pushed in here, Akali looks to walk down, right? One thing you can infer by what's going on is that Rumble has to be on the bottom side of the map, right? Number one, these two are playing up way too far for Rumble to not be on the bottom side of the map. Number two, you have a ward on blue buff is up, red buff is not, right? So at the very least, what you can say is his blue side of the map is up. Maybe his red side camps are too, but he's going to be pathing down to this buff right now because he wants to get this before he gets red buff, so he can have the timers work out for him, right? There's a very good chance they're almost on the bottom side of the map, with blue buff being up, dragon spawning in probably around 45 seconds, and them having priority bot side. So let's keep that in mind with what's about to happen. PoE is trying to reset for his item. I think that this is fine, because he wants to have item before Drake fight starts, right? That's the correct thing to do. They see Akali walk down. So with the knowledge I just mentioned, knowing that there's a good chance Rumble's on bot side, at least pathing towards his blue, or perhaps doing Gromp or Wolves or whatever, you know Rumble's most likely on bot side. You know that your bot lane does not have priority. Because I can actually show you. Bot lane doesn't have priority. You can see it on Lost Cam. Where is it? Yeah. So this is the lane state bot side, right? Lost, I'm assuming, told them, all right, Leona's not here. They have priority bot side. They have first move, right? Rumble is most likely bot side because of the factors I mentioned earlier, right? So this kind of a pick can never actually happen. Do you know what I mean? You're in a spot where if Akali just presses W to buy enough time, or even uses her E, her R, all that stuff just to buy as much time as possible. If it's like just a pure 2v1, yes, you can eventually kill her. But because of all the factors I mentioned earlier, the fact that Leona can walk up, Rumble's most likely bot side, he's going to have ultimate again, this pick doesn't make any sense, right? So like I said, she presses W, buys time. I'm going to bring up something I mentioned earlier. And again, here, just kind of show you what was going on around the map, right? So you look at bot side. Just ignore the mid lane camp for a second. You look what's going on bot side here, right? Udyr's here. All right, Braum is up there. They're pushing in this wave. And then Leona, Kai'Sa walk up, right? They're doing this. Clearing out vision. Leona starts to walk towards brush. You have no vision in this brush. You know that Kai'Sa's not there. It's even being pinged that Kai'Sa's there alone, right? So Leona's walking up here. The best case scenario for TSM, she's walking past Dragon right now. Worst case scenario, she's directly following Udyr, right? And it's something that you can't really predict due to the fact that Kai'Sa can be there whenever, just with ultimate. So this is not, again, this is just something you can't do. You know that Leona has moved first. You know that Kai'Sa's in lane alone. You know that Braum is coming late. You know that Rumble is most likely on bot side. How do you ever win this fight? Especially against someone that can buy as much time as Akali. If it's like an Orianna or someone that's just kind of going to stand there and just can get one shot, that's one thing, right? But like I said, Leona followed. Rumble is there. Gragas TP gets expended because I think they thought they had more time. They don't. Unlucky, right? This is another situation where it's like, all right, now Dragon has come up, and you're losing, like you're giving away another kill for free. You're giving away Dragon, and now because of what's going on, you're also going to be giving away tower plates with because of the fight you took at Herald, right? I'm gonna close this off. Go back to PoEs. Okay. All right. So PoE has his item. Unfortunately, they can't really use it to fight Drake. Skipped ahead. Rumble takes Drake. All right. Now you're down to Drake. You're down to Herald. Because of what happens here, they now get tower plates bot primarily on Kai'Sa and Rumble. Those are the people they really wanted out at this stage, right? So PoE is kind of doing his thing. He's pushing the wave again. Wave is still, I mean not wave. Lane is still okay for him. It's not great, but it's okay. Right? They're only down 2-0. This game is not at all doomed yet. Right? Hand over blue buff. That's nice. That works. All right. So they hand it. Perfect. Beautiful. Nice. Laning goes pretty stable here. Just kind of pushes in wave. They're looking to play on the bot side of the map with Udyr. Right? They know the blue is going to be coming up in the next 30 to 40 seconds. So next wave, Lucian just shoves it in. What they can do is they can walk up with the priority they have bot side and the fact that it's just Udyr Lucian. They can walk up and look to contest next blue buff, right? And that's something that they can look to get an advantage on. Blue buff isn't super important for them. I mean, for 100 Thieves because they're playing with a mid jungle duo of Rumble and Akali, but it's still you take your small victories, right? Like it is a buff's worth of golden experience. It's not nothing. All right, so like I said, he just looks to hard shove in the next wave, walks down to the buff. They're looking to contest. Inferno map makes this even easier because Lucian doesn't have to walk all the way around or commit to walking into a choke, right? So they get both blue buffs. That's good. Udyr looks for his reset. Bot lane's resetting, so yeah, he just kind of catches wave. It's no problem. Looks like he's going to just kind of ward try to keep himself safe. Maybe catch Rumble out. All right, no one's there. Walks back. At this stage, they're both level 11. Now, Akali is actually a danger to Lucian. If Lucian missteps or gets hit by E, he actually dies from full. Right? He sees Rumble there. Starts playing towards topside. Alright. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I don't know what that black box is. Okay, so what's going on here is 100 Thieves is doing a similar play to what TSM was doing, right, a second ago. They're using their priority bot and their priority mid to walk in with their jungler and look to try to get vision control over TSM bot side, or look to take any camps, whatever camps are there. Lucky for TSM, the only camp that's actually up is Raptors. This is the camp that you can actually give at this stage in the game. Again, you are fighting into Leona Rumble, both with ultimates. You're not actually allowed to take a fight in jungle choke points at this stage. They do anyway. So I can see the argument that maybe the game is slipping away from them a little bit, and they have to try to take these kind of fights to look for angles. But it's the way in which the fight is taken that I disagree with, right? So he's kind of looking to get harass on. Akali moves down. All right, so Rumble is here, Leona's here. You know what's going on already. You know they're in the jungle. You have enough vision to know exactly where they are, right? Lucian clears and looks to actually contest over this, right? They're all here. You know they're all here. So this is a spot where if you're going to take this play, Xayah has to sack wave, right? She has to sack wave to be here because it has to be a true 4v4. It can't be a 4v4 with Xayah coming in late for the second time, essentially, because the same thing happened at a Herald fight, right? So if you're going to do this, they have to be there. So what you can look for is you can look for what they kind of looked for here, which is just a quick pick onto the Leona and get out. But what ends up happening, because Lost is so late, they can't trade effectively, right? So their best case scenario here is not trading 1-for-1 because Lost is in here. Because if Lost is there, they can maybe try to pull off the Akali for long enough, or at least maybe even if Akali kills Lucian, if Lost is in position, they can actually win the fight as a whole. So they can kill Akali after, they can maybe look to kill the Kai'Sa after. But because he's so late to the fight, he's coming from an angle that doesn't really make sense. They get this pick. This is cool. This is nice. But again, you are fighting in a choke point against Rumble, Leona, directly in an opening that is the exact size of their ultimates. This is a situation where it's like, if you're going to take the fight, you have to A, B together, and you have to B, ideally not be exactly in the perfect choke point, right? So in order to take it, like I said, Xayah has to sack the wave. Xayah has to be either here or here with them, and they all have to be kind of together on this. Because they're kind of split up, this is what ends up happening, right? Gets PoE for free. Abbedagge just kind of gets whatever he wants here. And because she's coming from an angle that's so kind of rough, and they're kind of on different pages here too, right? Because once Lucian dies, it looks like Sword Art and Spica kind of want to leave the fight. Lost kind of wants to try to get in. If they're going to be doing anything, they have to be together, right? So if Lost is here, he's saying, hey, I have flank, we're going to take this fight. Then Sword Art and Spica can't they can't really justify walking as far away as they actually do, right? Because they walk so far away, they end up taking forever to get back into the groove of things, and this ends up giving Abbedagge a choke kill. The game essentially is over here. The Karma's too strong, the Kai'Sa's too strong. You haven't necessarily been outscaled, but you're at a spot where, assuming competency from Rumble and Akali, winning the game here becomes extremely difficult, right? So a couple points I kind of mentioned earlier. Given how much he actually knew about Rumble's pathing and where Rumble would be, and the fact that the 2v2 doesn't actually have any gank assist for Rumble, I think that PoE played the lane a little bit too passively. Right? I think he could get a lot more off. He should be looking for more press procs. He should be positioning himself a little bit better to deal damage with his passive. Right? That, however, is not the end of the world. A lot of the mistakes here in this lane more happened with fight selection and how they're looking to take the fight. So I guess those are more team mistakes rather than PoE specifically. I think that he did an okay job here. Obviously, it's not one of the best solutions I've seen, but you have to actually be able to if you're gonna pick this kind of a lane that will eventually no longer hard win at around level 9 or so, you have to be able to make the most of those first 9 levels, right? And I don't really feel like that's something that really happened here. So unfortunately, hopefully in the future he can turn that around. All right, thanks. Remember to ask any questions you have about it. I'm open to talk on Discord or through YouTube comments. Just reach out. All right, thanks.